Hello everybody, welcome back to Ableton Live. So soon, I know. So recently I released my remix of the song Midnight Motorist from the Five Nights at Freddy's 6 soundtrack, which plays when you play Midnight Motorist, who would have guessed. I just always really liked the song. And originally I went for something I would normally do, you know, synthesizers, that kind of stuff, but then I thought to myself, you know what, screw it, why don't I try to make up rock music? I wasn't expecting much to come out of it, but surprisingly, this came out to be one of the best things I've ever produced, so I'm going to walk you through how I made it, and maybe I'll make some more stuff like this in the future, so let's get started. Once again, I'm going to go through the instruments in the order they appear in the song, and as well as what they play. So we'll start with this, which is the sound effect of a car starting. That I just grabbed off of YouTube to MP3 converter. I thought it would be a good introduction to the song, mainly because, you know, Midnight Motorist, cars make sense. This is something you hear at the beginning of a lot of rock music, I tend to notice, so I thought that would make a good introduction. And of course, halfway through the car starting, we get this riser, which carries you into the song, which kind of starts with the drop, to be totally honest. Yeah, let's get into the actual music. So the first track here is this vector clav, which I've just thrown a filter onto, as well as added some reverb, and it sounds like this. Although, it's more like down here. And it plays some really simple two-note chords throughout the entire track, and for most of it, it kind of sounds like this. Really cool sound, in my opinion. Originally, I was going to make this some kind of synthesizer, when I guess this technically is a synthesizer, but a custom synth, but I thought this sounded really cool, and it honestly kind of sounds like a distorted, down-tuned sort of guitar, so I think it works well in this song. Next instrument is this bass, which is a You Pop My World bass. Very interesting name. It sounds like this. So as you can hear, I've added some glide onto it. So if you're holding down one note and press another, because this only has one voice, it'll glide up to that note. And I've made this play some staccato notes in the song. And I think it sounds really cool. For one, the percussive notes, the staccato notes sort of add a percussive element, which I think is cool. Especially on these lower registers. And you can hear I've added some longer notes here to break up the rhythm, so it's like and then the reason this note overlaps with this one is so that you get that glide sound effect downwards. It just makes it a bit smoother. Later on, I get it to play some more varied rhythms in this sort of break section here, like this. And I sort of like ditched the glide element after that part of the song. I also have a real bass guitar, or at least my plugin for a real bass guitar, ABPL2, and it doesn't play staccato notes, except for kind of in this part here. It just plays a normal bass line. Of course, over here it does play some varying notes, not as many quick staccatos and repeats as the bass above, and also I've had to move various notes up an octave because of the range of this plugin, so it sounds a bit more varied. And yeah, so that pretty much covers the backing instruments. So now let's get into the two leads. So first of all, there's this rhythm guitar, which is made out of if I turn off the effects here, a Colossus guitar plugin that sounds like this. That's way too low. Doesn't really sound much like a guitar, does it? So one, I've thrown on a filter, but that's not very important. Next is this guitar amp plugin that I have. Now, I'm not a rich man. I can't afford extremely expensive guitar plugins, but this one does an okay job, especially when you combine it with various effects. And so I've got this Modern Drive 666 mids here, and I've just tweaked some of the effects and turned the gain down, and you get this sound, which, you know, sounds a lot more like an actual guitar. It doesn't sound perfect, but it sounds pretty good. And it plays a fast-paced backing rhythm like this. It pretty much does that sort of, you know, up, down rhythm for most of the song. There's only one part where it varies, and that's during this. And then it goes back. And at the end it plays a hold note like the rest of the instruments. But that's pretty much it for the backing lead. Next I have the actual lead instrument, which is actually the same instrument but with a couple new effects. So first of all, I've given it a wide stereo effect to make it sound, well, wider, who'd have guessed. Added some more filters to cut off a bit of the grit, and I've gone with a boosted lead instead of the 666 mids, and I've tweaked the parameters once again, and you get this sound. And so it's a bit punchier, a bit stabbier, and doesn't have as much grit in it, and it usually plays at a higher octave than the backing lead, and it sounds like this. So during that first part, it plays a fast pattern like the backing lead to sort of introduce it, and then it goes into a more melodic lead. This here is a pitch bend. So this note here, you may notice it goes to woo like this. And that's actually supposed to be a high C, but I have pitch bended it so that it sounds a bit smoother, and then the note comes back down to what's actually playing, which is an F, I believe, if I turn off this automation. No, it's an A sharp, my bad. Later on, it plays some more staccato type rhythms. Why is it so zoomed in? And of course, you've got to add a couple shreds. And then it goes into this section, which sort of has a theme of repeating notes with slight variations, which you'll hear it in the final song. I won't go over it too much. And then we get into this, which is just pure shred towards the end of the song. That sounds really cool, in my opinion. A lot of this sounds rough on its own, but once you add the backing instruments in there, it starts to sound really good. Next, we'll go over the percussion. So for the percussion, I've just used this Moonlight kit, and I've just added a filter and a reverb. Now, I know in my other video I said I don't usually put reverb on drums. This one's very dry, doesn't last too long, and it's just to make them sound a bit roomier, to make them sound a bit more real. It plays only two different patterns, actually. This first pattern, which is a crash, bunch of open hi-hats, and then a simple kick and snare pattern. So that pattern, the do-ta, 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 is most of the song, actually. Towards the middle, when we get a small bit of a break section, I changed it up and I made this rhythm, which is a bit slower and a bit more melodic. You hear the kick drum. There's like some triplet notes in here. You can hear that. And it's also got closed hi-hats in it, which are quite like tingy. And combining that with the tail of that almost sounds like it's a ride in the back of the song, even though it isn't. It's a little weird. But yeah, that's literally it. That's literally the only 2 drum patterns that are in this song. Oops. I wanted to keep the drums very simple as to not, you know, drag away from the lead and stuff. And there's some various other percussion sounds, like these crashes. Usually they're just, you know, used to introduce a new bar, a new section. They do a bit of a build-up towards the end of the break here when that first shred is happening, though. And there's a riser as well, which is sort of used as a layer to the crash when I want it to have more impact. And of course it also introduces the song over here, like I said before. So it's just, you know, building up into some new sections and also crashing down into them. Adds a layer of white noise. Sounds pretty good. And yeah, that's essentially the entire song. In terms of instruments, there's only 9 tracks here, one of them being a car sound effect in the beginning. It's a surprisingly simple, like, assembly because of how complicated the notes are. Like look at that. Does that look easy to you? But yeah, I'm honestly really proud of the way this came out. Another thing that I think is important to mention is the BPM, which is 240. Which is the fastest project I've ever worked with, hands down. Really, the song is 120 BPM, but I sped it up so it'd be easier to draw in those shreddy staccato notes over here in the lead guitar. I think my favorite part of the song is probably this first part here, where the lead becomes more melodic. So I'm gonna actually play it. So if your ears are sensitive, I might want to turn it down a bit. Other than that, I like the transition from the shreddiness over here into the like repeating note lead section. This sounds good as well. I think that sounds really cool too. And of course there's the pure shred section over here, which, like, how could you ignore this? And then towards the end of the song, the final detail I want to bring up is there's a bit of a bend note in the lead you can hear. Right? And everything just kind of holds out towards the end of the crash. And it all fades out and ends at just over 1 minute and 30 seconds, which is pretty good. Standard length for, like, you know, an anime intro. So yeah, that's the entire song. Simple composition, but really complicated production. This took me quite a while, but at the end of the day, I'm very proud of the way this sounds. If you'd like me to do more rock-styled music in the future, let me know. I was thinking about making a sort of electric guitar cover of Stardust, or possibly other songs I've made. I think that could be really cool. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed making this. This is one of the most fun projects I've ever done. So thank you all so very much for watching. I appreciate your support. Hope you enjoyed the remix, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.